Hello and welcome to the Coaching Podcast, coaching for success in sport and business. Your host is Emma Doyle, the energy and high performance under pressure coach who is a world leader in unleashing human potential. Buckle up for this high octane session. Let them have it, coach.
G'day everybody and welcome to the Coaching Podcast. I'm here today with Coach Jen B, who's a life business coach and motivational speaker. I love her tagline, "You are worthy." She's got the t-shirt on to match it today. I'm feeling very worthy of our conversation. Big shout out to Lauren Danielle Frierson, who connected us. Lauren, of course, is a great episode on the Coaching Podcast, so check that one out if you haven't already. But Coach Jen B is on a quest to help women and purpose-driven entrepreneurs and corporations to get unstuck and become the best version of themselves today. So without further ado, Coach Jen B, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Coach. I'm happy to be here. We're going to have some fun, y'all.
Absolutely. So Speaking of fun, I always kick it off with a pattern break question. So your pattern break question today is, do you prefer ice cream, gelato, or like soft serve yogurt, or, you know, like what do they call that in America? I forget.
Soft serve? Yeah. Yeah. So kind of like frozen yogurt, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Totally frozen yogurt all the way. I typically kind of favor the more chocolatey, not the so fruity. And so there's like, the 4 chocolatey kind of caramelly. So then I'll take like, a sample of each and then usually lean in from there. But yeah, froyo all the way.
Froyo, that's it.
Yeah.
That was what I was like. All right, I love that. Okay, so let's start off on that note, which is happy, playful. Let's start on a really light note around, tell me about something that you're working on right now that really lights you up.
Lots. So I love the workshop style. I love facilitation. I love play. I was an HR leader for 14 years, working in corporate America. And sometimes that job comes with not so much play, right? A little bit more focused, rule-based. It was really not my style. I chose to show up with play. So what I love to do today, amongst many things, is really bring that play in facilitation, whether it's a corporate environment, because we all deserve to have play. Okay. Whether it's, one of my webinars or workshops that happens virtually, any of those things. But Coach M, I got to tell you, I had this crazy idea the other day. Okay. I'm thinking about a tool like cards, something to do with like believing in yourself and getting yourself unstuck through a series of questions. So stay tuned. I actually have a couple conversations with ladies who've created cards before, looking for a little inspiration, a little guidance, and then we might see what happens. But that's like the last thing that just was like, go. Now I'm like, okay, let's get some information before we do that. So that's where I'm at right now.
I love that. And it is important to pilot programs, isn't it? Not just jump in head first. I'm a big believer in that. On the flip side, I don't know, maybe I'm feeling the Libran scales in me today, but we've started on that positive note. Let's jump down potentially to you have this tagline around turning your mess into your message. Mm-hmm. So if you don't mind, also growing up in a household where love was potentially not shown in the best way possible, could you take us back to that story? I thought that was really powerful when I interviewed you Absolutely. At the Spritzer. Could you share Absolutely. A bit of that? Yeah.
I think ultimately when we're looking at coaching businesses, guidance, facilitation of people, very often it reflects back to our stories of our younger years or something that we wish somebody would have told us, or some guidance that we wish would have been easier to find. And so I did have 2 very loving parents, because we were going through some things as a family, whether it was finances, my father's health. He ended up getting fully disabled, terminal kidney failure by my age of 10. My parents are both immigrants, so a lot of the world was scary. The language, the customs, the money, the jobs, the people, everything was scary. I inherited this very not so good coping skill of food. And what I mean by inheriting is many times in our households, we pick up the things that we see in the people that we love. And so my mother, that was one way she coped. She coped through food. Now, what's interesting though, my parents Cuban, a Hispanic household. Food is love. food is, second helpings is like, I really enjoy your company, like, and so it was this weird mess of like love, but also because of some insecurities, very quickly shame. And so it would be this pendulum swing, right? And as we know, when we're kind of stuck in these cycles of coping, maybe not in the best ways, it's hard to break out of them. So even though there was shame, it's not like it stopped the behavior. I mean, shame doesn't typically stop the behavior. It just kind of keeps going and going until there's something, right, that happens in your life that helps you create a different, just a different way forward. So for me, my mess is, I didn't learn how to speak English till I was 8, but my dad was terminal, kidney failure by my age of 10. I'm an only child. My cousins are 10 plus years older than me, so I felt very alone. I felt like I didn't really have many people to speak to. And then that combination of dad is sick, so I don't want to bother him with it. And somebody needs to make the money, and it's mom, and mom's working all the time. So I'm just going to sit in it with myself. And that ultimately doesn't work long term. And so, yeah, just different coping skills that I leveraged. And then really had my first sense of belonging in college. Never played sports, not like Coach M, but I love college football. So I went all in. And that's really when I started to find my people. And I started to find my voice. And I started to find myself. But it was a long journey. And I think ultimately it was about 6 years ago that really started to change. And it actually, the change started happening at a gym. And I think a lot of people show up to the gym because they have to get results. Really, for me, the joy and the true success is when this changes at the gym. Your ability of I can, your confidence, your trust in community. Like for me, that was huge. So the mess to message is a girl who was lost and didn't really know how to cope, and with kind of variables that most kiddos don't have to go to now I help empower women to get out of their own way, because life is short and today's the day.
Today is the day. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
The strength in vulnerability, I know Brene might have coined the term, but it's so true. And I love the message in there around, if you are listening to this and you're taking it all on your own, there are ways and people out there in community to be able to use our voice. Why do you think it's so hard for us to use our voice and speak our truth?
Well, it's funny you bring up Brene. I've been like indulging on Brene for like the last week or two. So maybe my response right now is a little tainted by my Brene-ism that I've really been, really, and I'm a big fan of Brene, but really in the last 2 weeks, it's been a little more. It's vulnerable when we do. And I think as humans, one of the things that we love, right? Not we love, let me even change that word. We need is love and connection. And many times growing up, there's that level of acceptance and approval about what's right, what's wrong. You're out on the team. You get a round of applause for whatever it is that you just did, right? You scored the goal. And you very quickly start to figure out what people expect of you, want of you. And so you try to stay in the zone that helps people connect to you, but may authentically not feel like you. And it's hard to raise our voices. It's hard to then say, and disagreements and conflict and possible rejection, the big, word. So based on societal expectations, our parents or whatever, I think ultimately we have a need. We want to make people around us happy. Sometimes it leads to a lot of people pleasing, which in essence kind of really inhibits our confidence. And it's just easier to stay in that spot where we don't muddy the waters. Easier, I say, because really it's not, but that's the way we assume to think. So I kind of went deep there, but vulnerability is not safe for many. Many people run away from that word. And part of the reason why I really believe in purpose-driven entrepreneurs and in helping other women is because I do feel like when we get through some of that stuff and we start sharing our voice and our story, there's likely somebody else there that can say me too. But that first person is usually extremely courageous. They're breaking the mold. They're saying something in a room that everybody knows, but nobody wants to say. It's hard. It's hard.
I've been running a program called an emerging leaders program, about halfway through the 9 months. And I'm leading this group of incredible people. And we just had our session yesterday. And I've let them all know that between each session, they can contact me even during the week, but I'll get back to them on Friday. Have a guess. How many people do you think has reached out? Correct.
Not many.
Not zero.
Not many. Yeah.
Well, one person sent me an email, had a quick question on email, but I'm like, I'm your coach. I'm here for you. Please reach out. And so anyway, recently, after our spritzer, of course, and in conversation with our AI guru on the panel, I created a chat GPT called Coach M. And they've been using it. So
Good.
Again, what a great tool to offer for them to feel like, I would never ever judge them, but I just find that so interesting. We all need tools to be able to support us. What do you any reflections on that?
Oh, absolutely. As coaches, we're here to help. Typically, as I said before, we're really serving the person that we used to be. And we really wish would, gotten the help or gotten here a little quicker. So most of what I do is in group coaching. So I feel like that environment really helps people to kind of open up. And so then there's community behind that, whether it's a Facebook board, a text message, a DM thread, or anything like that. And I feel like people communicate pretty actively on those kind of things. But for many of us, we've been conditioned not to ask for help. Because help is vulnerable. Because help is just be strong, figure it out. Put your head down and get to work. Tough it out. That's kind of the mentality really that is honed in. And I'm going to say, and I don't have a lot of experience, and so I might be speaking a little bit off the cuff here, but I think it's also very states-based, very North America-based, where we kind of go into, we don't ask for help, right? We don't go knock on people's door for a little bit of salt or sugar when we need it, right? And that's where the magic happens when you do ask for help, because it creates help, it brings people together. Now, the thing I was also thinking as you were speaking, Coach M, is especially my generation, and I think future generations to come, we've been trained by the screen. And, if you've ever heard somebody say, can somebody just pick up the phone and call me? Why doesn't nobody ever listen to voicemails anymore? Right? Like all of a sudden it's like, it's the screen. And so it's much easier for us to interact with social media, a text message, AI, and those kind of avenues, because it's a screen. And what breaks my heart about that is the fact that our world right now, I feel, is more disengaged than it's ever been, and it's more lonely than it's ever been. So as a coach, if we can create a tool to help with that stuff and then help them to take a step closer to a real and connective and, human conversation, that's amazing. We got to start somewhere in that. So yeah, it breaks my heart, right? We have like 5,000 friends on Facebook, but how many people can we pick up the phone and say, by the way, I'm having a hard day?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Which brings me to one of the principles that I love that you talk about in creating the 1% shifts. This is huge. And again, that evening on the panel, the proof is in what people take away from, say, a workshop or a panel. And the number of people that just said to me, 1%, such as, I think the example was even just start by making your bed each morning, right? That's a 1% shift as an example when you're maybe feeling like you're stuck. What was the aha moment for the 1% shift for you, and how do you teach this?
Yeah, so I mean, really I go back to, I'm going to talk about food again for a little bit. I wanted better. I wanted a different life. I wanted to feel healthier and be active. I put on a lot of weight between 3rd and 8th grade. And during that time of your life, as you know, it's middle school and kids can be harsh. So it wasn't like there wasn't a pressure to try to do something different. But my approach of doing something different is based on what we often hear, which is you have to go all in. It has to be hard. It has to be fast. You have to get the results yesterday. Right? If I work out, 3 times as hard, then I'll get 3 times the result. And if I restrict 3 times the food, then I'll be 3 times skinnier. That's what we're taught.
Well, it doesn't work.
I mean, that's what is forced into us, right? It has to be hard. It has to be fast. And I mean, even the slogan, when we look at it, no pain, no gain. Really? Like, does it have to be painful? Do I have to hate this in order for me to get results? And so what I started to see, and really this took a very long time for myself personally on that element of my life, was that I knew that every time I went all in, like I had conditioned myself, I knew that I would eventually and very soon go all out. I mean, the reality is that for folks who make New Year's resolutions, and I do, and I have, and I may continue to do so in the future, most of those New Year's resolutions are over by January 10th, 10 days. And then we say, to heck with it, with the 355 days left in the year. We lose trust in ourselves, we lose confidence, because it's not like we just stop the action and life goes on. It has an emotional and mental effect on us. Okay, so I ended up going to the gym about 6 years ago, this community I speak of. And for me at that point, it was not necessarily about chasing a number on the scale like I had it before. I just wanted more life. I just wanted community. I just wanted to feel like I could do something that maybe I had been telling myself for a very long time I couldn't do. And so my approach was literally point the car in the right direction, Jen. I don't know where I got that, Coach Em. I think one day, I just kind of realized this is not working, so I have to try something different. And my something different was point the car in the right direction, pack your bag for the gym, put your shoes by the door, book your class, show up, walk, on the treadmill. And literally it's like the 1%. And sometimes the car was pointed in the right direction, but you know what? Life happened. And the car got pointed in a different direction and ended up in the place that I intended to. It's okay. And one thing we don't give ourselves a lot of in this world is grace. Very happy to, very quick to be critical, but not very quick to kind of let it go and give ourselves grace and give ourselves forgiveness. And so I started to realize, because of the people around me and enough evidence in my own life, that I was actually getting ahead faster with this 1% concept than the go all in and go all out 10 days later. It's a tortoise and the hare. The hare's going to win because they're faster. No, right? The tortoise wins because they're consistent. And so that was really my way of saying, there's something in this. And by the way, as I'm building on the 1%, the emotional and the mental state are also changing. From I'm not good enough, from I didn't do it, from I'm a failure, to maybe I can do this. And if I could do this, what would that look like? And as I do this, I feel better. And what would feeling better consistently? And so I'm starting to ask questions from a place of curiosity. So yes, a lot of my clients who come to me, they're like, Jen, where's the magic wand? Just give me the magic wand, right? The fad, the winner, $10,000 course that's going to get you there yesterday. I'm very transparent. I'm kind of an OPS coach. I don't have the magic wand. In fact, I probably don't have your answer to your question. But probably what I do have is a different question to help you unlock a different perspective. And for me, it's that 1%. I'll just share some really quick stats with you, Coach Em, that really hit me. Most people, when we go all in, it's more than 3 things we're trying to change at once. Our success rate's about 5%. Could it happen? Sure. Is it going to feel hard? Absolutely. When we go to about 2 habit changes instead of 3, right? It's about 35%. When we start with 1, it's about 90. So where do you want to be?
I want to be in the 90% group. Pick me. Pick me.
That's right, right? Makes sense. It's not the way we were trained, though.
Yeah. That's a great statistic. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. And I appreciate your philosophy. I just got off a call right before this interview with a brand new client who was basically obsessed with the outcome goal, all about the outcome goal. And I said, okay, cool. That's great that you've set that. Now, what's your performance goal and what's your process goal? Right. Process you're 100% in control of, and performance you're 50% in control of. So what are those 2 goals that are going to help you get to where you want to go? And he was like, what are they? I don't know what they are. All I know is that I'm obsessed with this goal, and no wonder it's not working for you. So I'm excited to potentially work with him on those things that can unlock so many other things in our life. So, in what you just spoke about just now, no bullshit, coach. I heard the word curiosity. Anyone who listens to this podcast knows I'm obsessed with even just starting our questions with I'm curious to, et cetera, et cetera. So in 1 to a maximum of 3 words, what do you think makes a great coach?
I'm going to say empathy, accountability, and space. All right. So this is why I love group coaching. I love group coaching because I have a story. When Em and I get together, we have 2 stories. When we get a group of 10 women together, a group of 10 entrepreneurs, we have 10 stories. And the cool thing about panels is that we have lots of stories. Empathy can be so hard because empathy, actually, I'm going to take a page from Brené's book on this one, okay? So she was talking the other day about, let's say you're in a hole, right? And so you're in the ground, you fell into this hole, right? You're asking for help, and this bystander comes by, okay? They see that you're asking for help, and you have a couple different options there. You have the option of continuing to walk on by. It's not my problem. It's not my thing. I don't know who you are. I have no responsibility. I'm going to keep going. Then you have the option of getting in the hole with someone, being extremely sympathetic, trying to feel all their feels. But guess what we got now? 2 people in a hole. Empathy is that way of being able to look at someone and say, I get it. Man, it must feel really overwhelming. Let me actually extend my hand. Let me figure out this response, right? Let me figure out this action to try to get you out of the muck. Because I don't want to go in there with you. I don't need to be there. I don't need to feel exactly what you feel, but I see you. And I've got a solution that I'm going to help you out with. That for me is empathy. I also say space because I am not here to push you and just getting it. I love what you said before about process. What process may work for me may not work for you. So how do we create an environment where the things that you want to do in order to get you to wherever you want to go are aligned with yourself? And one of the most vital tools sometimes as a coach is silence. Tell me more.
I love and what else?
Yeah,
Or
I love that. And what else? That's a good one. That's space for people to show up, space for people to share, right? As a coach, it's not hard and fast for me. It's not my way or the highway. And then the other thing I'm going to say also is accountability. Like, great, you came to me, you hired me, we had a conversation. By the way, there's going to be an ask. I'm not going to be like, by the way, thanks for your chunk of change. I'm out because you didn't show up. I know that many times in life when we try something new, it's scary. Even when we pay, because now we have to commit and we have to lean in. So most of my clients call me the real and raw because I will tell you based on vulnerability and stories and space, right? But I'm also going to be a no BS coach. Not here to keep you on the stuck. You've already had enough of that. It's here to get you to the other side. And I think for a lot of people, accountability can feel icky. It's nothing more than holding to your ask. What do you want to do? Let's go do it. Yeah.
do you think coaching is more future-based versus past-based to help somebody get to where they want to go? Or do you think you have to delve into the past a little bit to be able to break through to get to where they want to go?
Yeah, so where I try to meet my clients is on present tense and then future, right? And I should also say, I know that the majority of the stories that we build in our life are built by the age of 7. Okay, I know that what I call the itty bitty shitty committee. Okay, pardon my French for anybody listening on here. Basically, is a lot of those limiting beliefs and thought patterns that were instilled at a younger age. They come from somewhere, society, or parents, or friends, the media, whatever they might be. And so my train of thought is in order to create where we want to go and create the future, we have to let go of something. And letting go is very often past tense. That's not where I want to play with you, right? But we do have to be aware, be non-judgmental, understand what might be going on to say, I give myself grace, I give myself forgiveness, whatever it might be that is needed so that we can do the work and not be stuck in whatever stories we've built.
What are the 3 top reasons why people get stuck, in your opinion?
That's a great question. All right. So I think if I were to shoot a couple things off the cuff here, number one, I'd say trust. I have realized how many people struggle with self-trust. And I really, and this is where you end up with the two sides of it many times, perfectionism and procrastination. Because I'm not sure, I'm undecided. The only way to get approval from people is to do 100% perfect all the time, which is not sustainable, right? Or to not even show up, which many times can lead to procrastination, okay? So I think self-trust is a big, big issue. The other thing I would say is people-pleasing behaviors. Often want to show up for other people in the world other than ourselves. And the third thing I'll add, and I work with a lot of moms, we often think like we got to give all things, show up for our kids all the time. I'm not going to disagree with that. Our kids are watching, our employees are watching. And my question is, are you filling your cup and building your resilience before you put on somebody else's oxygen mask first? And so I think it's that capacity of I'm literally exhausted and resentful of my business, depending on whether it's life or business. People pleasing, which is I'm going to do something for you. It's not aligned with me, but I'm just going to go do it because I need the love and connection and the approval. And then number three, that kind of level of lack of trust, which often keeps us stuck in perfectionism or procrastination.
Lauren and I did we did a couple of energy retreats together. And one of the exercises, we just literally had 3 buckets, and we asked people in the room, it was men and women, it was probably about 70% women, to write down what they had done in the last 24 hours on a sheet of paper, each of the things, and then rip them up and put them in each of the 3 buckets. One was for what have you done for yourself, and then what have you done for your family, and then what have you done, for your career or etc. And then we tipped the buckets upside down to show like all the sheets of paper like dropping. It was a very cool visual exercise. So, you mentioned it earlier, learn through play. That's a great example of a play-based activity. But
Right.
What do you mean? How do you bring that to life? Can you give me a practical example?
Interestingly enough, one of the best communication strategies that I ever learned as an HR leader for 14 years was actually a philosophy also called G.R.O.W. Has nothing to do with my business. It is what it is. Okay. And so for the G.R.O.W. Strategy, it's again about a structure around communication. So it's goals, reality, options, and what's next. And very often, I think when we ask corporate companies, when we ask business owners, do you communicate well? Of course we do. Jen, I sent that person the email and I expected them to take immediate results. They knew what to do, right? Now, I can tell you that I am also a learner of many different ways. For example, I'm not really an auditory learner. You can tell me the same thing about 3 times, it probably will click, but if I see it, I get it. So one of the things I'll be trying tomorrow is about testing a team on and testing, I'll call it playing with the team regarding their communication. So I ended up printing out a fairly basic, I don't have it with me right now, kind of drawing. Like I think literally has like a house, a sun, a rainbow, and there might be, and a tree. I mean, most of us probably have painted with a house with a tree and a sun before, right? And my goal is there will be somebody up who will be drawing this based with markers, based on the direction and the clear communication from their team. I'm very curious to see what that is, right? And what they're going to draw. And so essentially it's a little bit of a game of telephone, right? And it's all to help people realize that there may be opportunities, or maybe there was a way of learning that you kind of got from someone that you really understood. Part of this as well for me is I'm curious to see who the crowd who's going to be writing directions will manage that experience. Is everybody just going to be barking orders? Because that happens sometimes. Is somebody going to take the lead? Right? Is everybody going to have a little bit of say? I don't know what they're going to do. But it's going to be interesting to debrief right after that. So to be continued.
Yeah. That's a great example. I love that. And how ironic that in every one of my Leader as Coach workshops, we work through the G.R.O.W. model, which of course I'm super passionate about. Yeah, because the godfather of business coaching, Sir John Whitmore, used the concepts from the inner game of tennis. He used to work with Timothy Galway, and he he created the G.R.O.W model back in the 80s, and I live and breathe it. I learned it back in 2005 myself, and I still use it in my coaching today because of the simplicity of being able to get a result so that people do take action. You know, what's next?
All right. Well, I'll be talking about that tomorrow as well. So we're going to go through this experience.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of go lean into the strategy, right, of how we can improve communication. There's another one I really like to do called Prisoner's Dilemma. Literally, if you look it up on Google or whatever, it will come up. But it's a game of what people assume very quick is competition, when in fact the answer to the question is collaboration. But we have a very us versus them. Most of our organizations work in silos. Nobody really understands, and so everybody points the fingers, whether it's first shift, second shift, a warehouse, sales, marketing, whatever it might be. And so I love to see that game in action, because even as they're working through it, they have their aha moments, but it's played in rounds. So it's always interesting to see that even when they might know what is next and that the goal is collaboration, that fifth round, about half the teams go rogue. They're still like, it's for me. No, it's not. You know, but how often do our corporations and households work on a model of it's competition? It's about what I can gain instead of what I can give and how we can, grow collectively. So, yeah.
Yeah. I love from competition to collaboration to cohesiveness as well. That's one I worked on recently with a construction company where they were basically just in competition. Then we moved to collaboration, and then we actually moved to cohesion over that was through pickleball, using pickleball as the game to teach the concepts, the nice. 3 C's, which was pretty cool. So we definitely, you and I have a lot of similarities, and I absolutely love coaching with you. And I've very much enjoyed this conversation. So I want to round it off with confidence. I know it's a topic you love to talk about, but what would you say is one piece of advice regarding confidence that you wish that you learned earlier in your life?
Kind of going back to my thing about stories, right? And so just to recap most of what I've said now, most of us have been taught that it's hard and it's fast and it's about me and I can't ask for help and all those things. So we sit in a world of being very alone. And the stories that build in our head is that we're not enough, we're not worthy. Why show up? I'm inconsistent, I'm going to fail. And those things keep us stuck. While on the other side, you've got vulnerability and collaboration and ability to ask for help and those kind of things. And the 1%. And as those happen, it's interesting. It starts to lift our spirits and build our fire and build trust with others and ourselves. For me, confidence is nothing more than moving to a place of self-acceptance and authenticity. Knowing yourself truly, your value system, not sacrificing for people-pleasing simply, but honoring your true self, honoring who you're meant to be, honoring your calling, honoring your gifts. So the biggest thing that I wish I would have learned is that every action we take in life will either help move us towards that or away from it. And then many times the actions that we think are the scariest are actually the ones that build us up. The asking for help, the vulnerability, the 1%, because it's not sexy, those kind of things. So life can be simple. We make it often very hard.
Well, from the itty bitty shitty self-limiting beliefs and what goes on inside us to being able to grow, be vulnerable, and move our mess into our message through our story. Thank you for your empathy, accountability, and space, and the way that you unlock potential in others, because you are worthy. We are worthy. And
worthy.
Coach Jen B, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Coaching Podcast.
Thank you, Coach, and I appreciate it. And again, I'm, for everybody who's listening to this, I nudge you to say, I am worthy now, without your laundry list of things to do and who you need to show up for, just because you are.
Yep, absolutely. And do something for yourself today as well. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a rating review on your podcast listening device. And don't forget to tell a fellow coach about the show. The ball is in your court to take action and enjoy your coaching.